Yes. What's happening, everybody? It's Wednesday night, one day later than normal, but we are doing Just the Tip with me, your host, Uncle Weezy, breaking down all 12 fights on this UFC 293 card. It's going to be taking place in Sydney, Australia. Almost all these fights will have at least one Australian fighter in them, and it's a pretty good card from top to bottom. It's a pay-per-view card, so a lot of people are saying that the main card isn't really up to snuff. You know, we got Anton the Pleasure Man Turkalj is going to be fighting against Tyson Pedro. We've got Austen Lane against Justin Tafa is a very low-level fight for a pay-per-view. We've got a debutant on the pay-per-view in Dos Santos, who had to step in on short notice for Haqparast to fight against Manel Kape. So definitely not the best name value main card, but some really fun fights. So I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you guys. First, let's talk about last week. Last week, I was down 0.75 units. Couple winning bets, couple losing bets. Let's start with the losing bets. Really bad underdog bets by me last week. Sergey Spivak, 2 units. Thiago Moises, 1 unit. So I lost 3 units on my money line bets last week. Moises pulled a complete quit job, and Sergey Spivak was never, even for 1 second, in that fight or having any chance to win it. So I'm really ashamed of those picks. Really rough in that respect there. Also lost my Reese McKee by decision pick, which was a half unit bet at plus 380. Very good bet, in my opinion. Very close fight. Reese McKee won the third. Lusso won the second. First round was a very close round. So I'm happy when I have a half unit at plus 380, and then it goes to the judge's decision, and it's a close fight. So definitely very close there. But that was a total of 3.5 units of losing bets. Then I had a 1 unit bet on Manon Fiorot to win by decision at plus 125. That cashed. And then I also had a 1.25 unit parlay. Ozdemir's money line parlayed with the under 3.5 rounds in the main event. That one cashed for 1.5 units. 2.75 units of winning bets added all up, down 0.75 units, down 0.5 units the week before that, down 2.25 units the week before that, and then up 0.3 units because I actually forgot to track a bet on the card 3 weeks ago. So it's a little 3-week losing streak here, down about 3.5 units over the last 3 weeks. So definitely looking to turn it around this week, make some money on this UFC Australia card, which is going to be a pay-per-view and has got some pretty decent fights on it. I've already got a total of 3.85 units in bets on this card. I'll share those bets with you after we're done at the end of the show here, so you guys know what I'm thinking for this week. But what's up with you guys in the chat? How's everybody doing out there on the Wednesday night? Did you guys enjoy the Contender Series? Are you ready for these fights? Are you looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for this event? We got Jenkins MMA in the room saying, let's go. Looking forward to UFC 293. Best of luck this week, Weezy. Oi! Yes, what's up, Jenkins? Thanks for hanging out, man. TH is in the room saying, what up, Weezy? I called my first perfect card last week. I should have bet that parlay. Congratulations, man. All of them, all the favorites came through last week. So a lot of people who were parlaying favorites last week had a ton of success. And, you know, this is a week where I like a lot of the favorites to come through again. But there are some prices that are intriguing on some of these dogs, and we're definitely going to talk about it. We got Tomato's scorecard in the room saying Izzy has a fetish for greasy four-leggers. Woof, woof. Let's go, man. Yeah, Izzy evidently up to some suspect stuff right now. I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, people are talking about it, and it's some wild stuff. My guy Bob is in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? Looking to make it 13 events in a row of stacking cash tickets like flapjacks. Best of luck, everybody. That's incredible. That's a great, great winning streak, man. Let's keep that rolling, Bob. We got Daz Files in the room saying, oi, Kiwis for the win. There's a lot of Kiwis fighting out of City Kickboxing on this card. Going to be a very good one. Thanks for hanging out. one of the local folks over there to that part of the world, our guy Daz Files. DFS by the numbers saying, oi, yes, what's up, Brady? Me and him and Gordo and Monk just did our DFS show at 8 o'clock Central Time on Pub Sports Radio today. Had a lot of fun on that show. Always a fun panel there to do the work with. And you always see me with Brady every week on Stat Diggers on Pub Sports Radio as well. So shout out Pub Sports Radio. We got M.A. Laren in the room saying, oi, so many wide lines looking parlayable. Who's going to shit the pie? Thank thee for your work. One more week, Unk. Yeah, man, there's a couple possibilities this week, I think the line, well, we'll talk about all of it obviously coming up here, but I think there are a couple potential juiced favorites here who could kill your parlays out there. We got Eli in the room saying, sure all. What's up, Eli? Good to have you hanging out in here. We've got Jester saying all New Zealand, Australia parlay anyone plus 9,751, 97.5 to 1. Isn't that bad, man? Might be worth it. And the hometown fighters have been doing pretty good recently. You got that crowd behind you. That always helps with judges' decisions if the fight does go to decision. And it also helps, with making your opponent nervous. Antonio Esparza saying, oi, what's up, Unc? How you doing, bro? All is well, Antonio. Hope all is well with you as well here. We got Yes Freak in the room saying, Sigma Chi, I see you, Weezy. Ooh, what is up, Yes Freak? Yes, sir. Sigma Chi, the former, I went to the Harvard of the Midwest, Northern Illinois University. No more chapter there. We got kicked off of campus about a year or so after I left school. But yeah, Sigma Chi, definitely the fraternity of choice for your Uncle Weezy. Rouse is in the room saying, oi, Unk, random question, but who did you take in the first round of your fantasy football drafts? And how much Fields or DJ Moore did you draft? Chicago on the way up. Yeah, I think Chicago is definitely on the way up. The offensive line is going to have to stay healthy. That's always a big part of it. DJ Moore is a great receiver for this offense. I think he's going to get a lot of looks out there. Justin Fields was going early in a lot of my drafts. Definitely like a top 6, top 7 quarterback because of all the rushing yards that he brings to the table. And Justin can make big plays with his feet outside the pockets. He can extend plays. And the Bears have got a solid defense too. So I think that they're doing pretty well. I had the number 2 pick in both of my drafts, wound up getting Christian McCaffrey in those 2 drafts. In another draft, I had the number 5 pick, and it's a completely different rule set. So I took Justin Herbert, but like Christian McCaffrey didn't even go until pick number 11 in that draft just because of the nature of the scoring system. So yeah, that's my football stuff for you guys today. We got Curtis Clark in the room saying, let's go, Weezy. Just lost a unit on Pro Box tonight. Need you to steer in the right direction for this weekend. Let's get it, Curtis. Let's get that unit back and then some. We got Kristen in the room saying, oi, happy lackluster pay-per-view week, hoping for sneaky fireworks. We might get it. And it was like Brady and I always say on Stat Diggers, the best cards are the ones where we make the most money. Let's face it, it could be the best card in the world, have the best fights. You lose 8 units on that card, you're not going to enjoy those fights. So let's enjoy it by cashing bets and finding the ways to do that. Always good to see you hanging out, Kristen. We've got M.A. Liren in the room saying, Weezy, is today's show on Wednesday an exception, or will you change your schedule? No, it is an exception because I had 2 fantasy football drafts. They went until almost midnight last night, so there was no way I was going to be able to do the show. And I was hanging out with friends that I haven't seen in a while, so it was good to hang out with them. Shout out all my Sigma Chi brothers that I do that draft with. But yeah, I definitely had a great time. We're going to go right back to Just a Tip on Tuesday night next week. Curtis Clark has got the flapjacks there. We got Zen Monkey in the room. We got TH saying, I had cornhole, but how the fuck did she win? Biased judges. Yeah, like sometimes the hometown crowd, they cheer when the hometown fighter does something, and then they're quiet when the visiting fighters does something. That can get into the judges' heads a little bit. But yeah, I don't think she lost that fight. I mean, I think Jocelyn Edwards definitely deserved to win that fight. That was about as close to a robbery as I've seen lately. And yeah, I feel really bad for the Jocelyn Edwards bettors. They got screwed on that fight. And yeah, I don't think Nora Cornhole deserved to win that fight. My guy Swinger is in the room saying Uncle Weezy dominated his fantasy football drafts last night. Let's go. He knows because he was there for both of them. He's in my league. And yes, I was being a little bit loud. Maybe I was a little bit drunk. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe a little bit. And I was getting a little bit loud, boisterous, telling everybody they sucked and that my team was going to dominate theirs, that they were all playing for second place. So definitely definitely had a good time at the draft last night with my guy Swinger. Who are your sleepers in fantasy football this year? Man, that's a loaded question that we don't have time for today. But I got a lot of players that I liked late. Why not Deion Jackson on Indianapolis? You know, I mean, I don't think Taylor's going to be coming back anytime soon. There are some guys late that my guys, I have a team with Swinger. We got some good players. He likes Jameson, that guy Jameson, the wide receiver for the Lions, who's going to be suspended for the first 6 weeks for gambling. That's how we know we like him. He's one of ours. He got caught gambling, so 6 weeks. Now he's going to come back and do something for the Lions later on. We got Keep It Cool is in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? Good to see you hanging out in here. We've got Jester in the room saying, let's kick some Packers ass this week, Weezy. Go Bears. Bears. Let's hope they get it, man. Let's see what Jordan Love has for them this week. Going to be an interesting game for sure. My guy Addicted to Combat, Patrick, is in the room saying, oi! And he's saying the HMF title fight, handsome motherfucker between Ulberg and Jung. Yeah, they're both very good-looking dudes. And yeah, and then we've got the Pleasure Man as well, fighting a pretty good-looking guy in Pedro. Not nearly as good-looking as the Pleasure Man, but yeah, I think that while a lot of us men don't necessarily like the pay-per-view card, the women are going to be tuning in for heartthrobs such as Anton the Pleasure Man Turkalj, such as Da Un Jung, such as Carlos Ulberg, and then of course Sean Strickland is just, you know, like pretty much getting panties wet wherever he goes. Everybody loves Sean Strickland. The ladies just love him. So yeah, definitely some man meat on this pay-per-view that the ladies are going to enjoy. And hopefully we get some really good fights. And hopefully we get some cashed bets. That's always what it's all about. Good to see you hanging out in here, my man Patrick. Terry Mizzo in the room saying, Weezy, what's good, bro? Looking forward to breaking down these fights. Terry, thanks for hanging out. We got Helder Stuarari in saying, To, Weezy, I'm here in Brazil, totally drunk. Say oi to me. Tomorrow I'll see when I'm sober. All right, man. How about a good oi for my guy Helder? Enjoy your evening. Karine Killer must fight for a BMF title. Yeah, Karina Killer Silva is just killing these hoes right now. She is on fire. I'm really looking forward to her next fight. Let's see. Title, yes, for the BMF title. My guy Greenbat saying good luck this week, Weezy. We got Antonio Esparza saying, fuck those smelly cheeseheads from Dumpville, Green Bay. Go Bears, Unc. Let's get it, man. Let's get that first win in there against this new luck Packers team with Jordan Love at quarterback. And what percentage chance would you give Sean? I'd say like probably. I think the line is fairly accurate here. You know, it's going to be very difficult for him to win this fight, but there are things that he can do to make his job easier. And if he does those things, you know, the pressure style, the boxing that he brings could wind up, you know, winning some minutes for him. Especially if he mixes in any kind of wrestling successfully, because we know that, you know, Izzy's ground game is not how he's out, you know, winning minutes. You know, he wins minutes on the feet because he's a phenomenal kickboxer. So definitely looking forward to that main event, but the line is wide for a reason. And Curtis Clark saying, killing these hoes. You're damn right. All right, you guys, let's break down some fights. I will share my screen with you here, and we will get the advanced stats up here. And we have no stats for this first fight because both of these gentlemen will be making their UFC debut on Saturday. We've got the French product, Kevin Jousset, at -155. He trains out of City Kickboxing in New Zealand, and he will be going up against the Irishman, Kiefer Crosbie. He's an underdog at plus 135. Fight doesn't go to decision for this fight at minus 130. So let me get my notes ready for you guys. And all you, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, so you don't miss out on any of the great content that we do here. And please leave me a comment down below. Just tell me, just say oi, or let me know if you have any questions about this card. But I always appreciate you guys hanging out, watching, hitting that thumbs up, hitting that subscribe, leaving me comments. And please consider joining the Patreon. It's where you see all these great stats on the show. That's where you can get them so that you can have them for yourself, and you can do better research on your own, having all the facts in front of you for every single fight. So please consider joining the Patreon to support the work. And let's first start breaking down the Jousset Crosbie fight here. And we'll first start talking about the French product out of New Zealand, Kevin Jousset. He's going to be 3 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller and have a 4-inch reach advantage over Kiefer Crosbie. So he's a big, long middleweight is this guy, or is Jousset. Or he's been a middleweight. He actually won at middleweight, the eternal MMA champion. But this fight is going to be fought at welterweight here. Kevin has fought at middleweight before, while Crosbie has mostly been a lightweight. So Kevin is definitely going to be the bigger and longer dude in this spot. Even though Kevin has 3 less pro fights than Kiefer, he has 40 more minutes in the pro cage, and he's had 4 fights scheduled for 5 rounds in his pro career, while for Crosbie it's 0. Kevin Jousset has solid kickboxing. He mixes his weapons well. He uses his length well. And because of his length, he can use long-range knees and elbows that make him difficult to deal with at range. And Kevin's a judo black belt. He uses that judo to get his takedowns with throws, sweeps, and reaps. And he has a tricky ground game because of his length. Even though he's 0 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his career, you can see on tape Kevin is using his grappling game to win minutes and threaten submissions. Now, Kiefer Crosbie has been a pro for 3 years longer than Jousset, and he has 3 more professional fights. He's got nice pocket boxing. He does a good job of closing the distance, and when he does, he throws in combination and with power. He lands big shots there, and he definitely has knockdown and knockout power. And I've seen Kiefer mix in some wrestling to win minutes on the ground. And once he does, he gets fights there. He gets to the back of his opponent a decent amount of the time. So both of these guys definitely have functional ground games. The one thing that I got to say about Kevin Jousset that bothers me is the guy is incredibly low volume. And I just don't see the point in laying juice on somebody that does as little at distance as Kevin Jousset does. And he will get takedowns in his own right, and he's got great judo. You see him get some great throws on the regional scene, dumping dudes on their heads. But then he usually doesn't get a lot of control time after he gets those throws. So he's not the best at, keeping guys down once he gets them there. Crosbie, I think, is going to do more. That's the thing. I mean, Jousset just doesn't do enough. So even though I think Jousset, being the bigger guy, being the hometown guy that trains at City Kickboxing, the crowd is going to be behind him here. And because I think he's got a sneaky ground game, because I like the clinch attacks, and because he's probably the guy that's going to land the more impressive strikes when they do land, I think that he's going to win this fight by decision. But I think Kiefer Crosbie, if he shows Kevin just no respect and just walks him down, I think he can absolutely win this fight, because Kevin Jousset is going to have a hard time getting respect from anybody at distance striking range, because he does so little there. He's going to have to be precise. He's going to have to land a big shot early, because if he doesn't, I think Crosbie walks him down and makes it a very difficult fight for him. I'm going to pick Kevin Jousset to win this fight by decision, but I think Kiefer Crosbie is a pretty live underdog here. this fight was just made recently. I think both of these guys will be fighting on less than a couple of weeks' notice. So it's an interesting fight. It's one that my money probably won't get anywhere near, but I will be picking Kevin Jousset to win this one by decision. So let's go to the Tapology page here. And there's Kevin Jousset, and we'll pick him to win this one by decision. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got my guy Marcus Williams in the room saying locked in and watching. F Spivak. Marcus, I don't know what happened there, man. That was one of the worst performances that I've seen in a long time. I had a big bet on Spivak. And it was just, when you make bets like that, you have to kind of remember, hey, look, we didn't know that the fight would play out like that. But what we did know is that Ciryl Gane's ground game looked like absolute garbage whenever we saw it, whenever we saw fights get there. Sergey Spivak is a guy who historically has gotten fights there, and he couldn't get anywhere near Gane, and he didn't try even close to hard enough to get takedowns, to get into the clinch. He's got to work on his single and double leg entries, and then maybe climb up the body and then start using those throws and trips that he's better at. But he's got to work on his freestyle wrestling, because his entries were not close to being urgent enough against a guy like Gane, who wasn't exactly running from him either. I mean, Gane was standing right in front of him. So I don't know what the hell Sergey Spivak was doing, or if he was injured, or if he was sick, or if there was something going on, because that was a dog shit performance and a dog shit bet by me. So on to the next. My God, Marcus, we're going to be making better bets than that going forward. It's almost mathematically impossible that we make any worse bets than Sergey Spivak, man. Remdog saying, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. They are in their part of the world right now, and they're going to have some fun. Those Australian crowds are awesome. So I'm really looking forward to these fights. We got Giga Chad of NPCs in the room saying, Gyno got exposed for being a predator. If Chimaev fights him, it'll be poetic justice when he gets him for all the canines he's assaulted. I guess this is something that people are talking about now. We were talking about it on the DFS show on Pub Sports Radio a couple hours ago. I'm not going to get into it because, I've just heard what other people have said. I have no sources. I got nothing going on here, but Isreal Adesanya might be into some really, really weird shit. Kim Winslow is ruining mermaids' lives. It's like you've been assassin. That's a famous quote from Misha Tate. So when she said that Kim Winslow is ruining people's lives. And if you've seen Kim Winslow dress up as a mermaid on, man, we got it. We have to. I'm sorry. I have to, you guys. Kim Winslow. Mermaid. So images. And there it is, you guys. Kim Winslow, former UFC referee, as a mermaid, as I don't even know what that is. Then you got Kim Winslow right there. Look at that. See? Yeah, there we go. And then my favorite picture right there with the heart run. We're getting off the beaten path here a little bit today, but there's nothing wrong every once in a while with a little bit of a tangent. Jay Jack is in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? I really like Kape this week. Trying to find another parlay spot I like. Well, we'll talk about that because I've got Kape parlayed up with somebody that we're going to talk about later in the card. And Antonio Esparza saying, note to myself, never bet against Saint Denis again. Dude is a Terminator. How far can he go in the lightweight division? I think he can go very far. I mean, like that, there's nothing to really talk about in terms of any kind of criticism. Benoit Saint Denis since the Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos fight. Yeah, I mean, it's it's been an amazing performance for him in his last 3 fights. Stolcha, 4 fights. Stolcha, he beat, then he beats Miranda, then he beats Bonfim, and then now he's got that performance against Thiago Moises was flawless. It was incredible. So yeah, I mean, this dude is getting the job done for sure. And Antonio saying, if I was paid $1 million to marry Kim Winslow, would I? $1 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But marriage, no, I don't. No, it wouldn't happen. We got to get on to the next fight, you guys. The next fight that we're going to talk about is Shane Young going up against Gabriel Fly Miranda. We got Shane Young at -170 going up against Miranda +145. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at -175 for this fight. This is a fun stylistic matchup, and it's going to be a really fun fight. Shane Young is 3 years younger, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage here over Gabriel Miranda. And Shane has the experience advantage with over 90 more minutes of cage time as a pro compared to Miranda. And Shane also has the UFC experience advantage with 5 more fights and 65 more minutes of cage time. Neither guy is much of a minute winner, but Young is 3 wins and 6 losses to the decision in his career, while Miranda is finisher bust with a 0 wins and 4 losses career in decisions. So in addition, Young has been durable as a professional, only being finished once in 20 pro fights and 7 pro losses. So a durable guy fighting a finisher bust fighter like Miranda could favor Shane Young. And Shane is a high volume pressure striker. He attempts 16.29 distance strikes per minute, which is about 4.28 more than the divisional average. And Shane has a positive 0.13 distance strike differential, and he lands 6.45 more distance strikes per minute. Or no, he lands 6.45 distance strikes per minute and throws 2.37 more distance strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. Shane pressures when he's on the feet. He stays behind a nice jab. He throws nice straight right, and he mixes in body work and low leg kicks. Shane stays very busy, and some people definitely have problems with that kind of a style. And Shane has fought the better brand of competition over their respective careers. Now, Gabriel Miranda is going to be the bigger dude. He's 3 inches taller than Shane. We've mostly seen Miranda at lightweight, but his second UFC fight will be his first as a featherweight. Gabriel was scheduled to fight in Brave at 145 pounds as recent as 2021. But the last time we actually saw him fight at 145, Gabriel Miranda, was back in 2018. So it's going to be important to see if Gabriel makes weight and how he looks on the scale. And Gabriel comes out blasting like Yosemite Sam. He sets a furious pace on the feet, and when the fight goes into the grappling exchanges, he's extremely aggressive with his submission attempts. Gabriel has a 100% finish rate in his 16 pro wins, and 14 of those 16 finishes come in the very first round. Miranda sets a pace that few can handle early, and if he can't break his opponent with that early pace he sets, he usually finds it difficult to find moments late in the fight, and he's lost every decision that he's ever been to. And I like what Gabriel does on the feet because his style suits his strengths as a fighter. He pressures, he throws with power and in combination. He uses his striking to set up his entries on his takedowns, and he throws his kicks with really bad intentions because he doesn't care if he gets taken down and put it on his back because he's super aggressive from his guard. In the small sample size of distance striking versus Saint Denis, Gabriel attempted a whopping 20.56 distance strikes per minute, and Saint Denis actually attempted 26. So Gabriel forces high volume striking wars to force the grappling exchanges he's trying to set up. Gabriel's style reminds me a lot of Joel Alvarez. And Gabriel's a moment winner in the grappling exchanges. He's 15-0 to the submission in his pro career. Very impressive. Gabriel does great work, especially from his back. He's got 4 wins from guillotine. He's got 4 by armbar. He's got 4 by rear naked choke, 2 by triangle, and 1 by heel hook. Shane should absolutely do everything he can to avoid going to the ground with this guy. But in summary, this is going to be a really fun fight. Gabriel Miranda made his UFC debut against Benoit Saint Denis in Paris, and now his second fight is against Shane Jung in Australia. So the UFC brass is not trying to do this kid any favors. Gabriel will be very dangerous early in this fight with his high volume, pressure, and power-based striking style that usually sets up his takedown and clinch entries, where Gabriel either uses that high volume kicking approach to force his opponent to grapple or to pull guard to try to set up his submissions. Shane will look to weather the early storm, stop the takedown and guard pulling attempts, and then use his conditioning, pressure, and pace to win the second and potentially break Miranda in the third. Both these guys fight with styles that suit their strengths, and both guys definitely have paths to victory. I like the youth, the high-level experience, the conditioning, the pace, the pressure, the durability and grit that Shane Jung brings. I also like the high pressure with reckless abandon striking style that Miranda brings that tends to force wild and unpredictable clinch and grappling exchanges where Miranda can set up his submission attempts. But Shane Jung only has been finished once in his career is comforting against a guy who has been first or second round finish or bust in his career. I'm looking for Shane to weather that early storm, turn up the pressure and pace in the second, and I think he finds the big shot in the third after Gabriel wears down and finishes him via KO. So I'm going with Shane Jung to win this fight by third round knockout. And there we go. Shane Jung by KO in round number 3 in front of the home crowd. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. We have got LPX is in the room saying plus 150 to 200 dogs are bad everywhere in prelims and mains, especially with prelims. Main plus 150 to 200 is okay with RLM, NLM. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, track dogs' success, by the line that they close at. I've never really tried to do that before, but those things go in streaks sometimes, and sometimes they wind up coming out ahead. But you always got to compare the win rate to the actual implied probability of the line, and if you have a fairly narrow range, you can find where the sweet spots are. And evidently, plus 150 to 200 is not a sweet spot for underdogs. We got Jay Jack saying Jung by decision. We got Terry Mizzo saying, I agree with this breakdown, Uncle Winslow. We've got Prince of Mischief saying, what up, Weezy? What happened to probability? Is it canceled? It's not canceled. I'm going to be, I'm working on a new show that is going to take advantage of all the stats, and we're going to make the show about all the less talked about prop options, like significant strikes, like takedowns, like fantasy score, and fight time. So the show is being retooled, and I'm retooling the spreadsheet to make that available in a Patreon only show for people who have interest in the high level analytics that I've put together for over under bets and for significant strike bets, takedown bets, and fantasy score bets. So that's what we're doing with that show. It will be hopefully coming back very, very soon, but trying to take on extra projects during a 17-week stretch of UFC is pretty difficult to do, especially when your dog dies and when you get COVID, and life just gets in the way too, and the UFC just keeps on rolling, so looking to finish that up, but man, it has been really difficult, and I've had to do a ton of programming behind the scenes to set up all of this. So probability will be coming back, but it's going to be a Patreon only show that really is for people who are analytic based here. And then my guy Yedis, ring a ding ding with the $19.99 donation to the show. Much appreciated, my man, saying Weezy cash and tickets this weekend for sure. Thanks for everything. We're looking to make it. We're going to start a winning streak this week because we had put together 3 small losses back to back, Now it's time to get it all back in 1 week and just start shaving ass here. I really appreciate the donation. Thank you so much, Yidis. We've got Real Deal Prime is in the room saying, sup. What's up, dude? Good to see you hanging out in here. And we got Keep It Cool saying, I like that you're diversifying your content, Unc. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's something I'm trying to do because, frankly, on YouTube, the content creators, like that, especially that do what I do, where your content is there for 1 week, really, and 1 week only, and then nobody watches it after that. It's not a business model to make any kind of money doing this. So, yeah, I really do want to make this probability show. While it will be pay-per-view, I think it's going to be I know that it's going to be unlike everything that's available right now. And we were giving probability away on the MMA engine for free, but frankly, those analytics are worth a lot of money. And I'm going to be now just doing it for the people that support the Patreon and support the content creation behind the scenes. And that show will be a thank you to the people that do, buy the spreadsheets and support the content. We've got thanks for the update. Keep up the hard work. Appreciate you, my man. And we're going to keep up the hard work by talking about the next fight on this card, you guys. It is going to be Blood Diamond, Zimbabwe, stand up, going up against Charlie Ratke. Ratke's a big favorite here at -310. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juice to the tits here at -225, and Blood Diamond can be had. The hometown guy, the city kickboxing product, +260, a big plus money number here. So this is an interesting fight. Let's first start talking about the advantages for Blood Diamond. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's a switch stance fighter, fighting an orthodox fighter. So that's a statistical advantage. Blood Diamond is a high-level kickboxer, training at City Kickboxing. He fights long. He's very unorthodox and unique with the way he attacks his opponents. Standing at range with somebody that switches stances and throws from such unusual angles is dangerous, which is why his opponents thus far in the UFC have tried to wrestle him. That way they don't have to try to solve the complicated puzzle of his stand-up game. Now, Chuck Buffalo here is going to be 2 years younger than Blood Diamond. Chuck's got the experience advantage. He's got 5 more pro fights and almost 50 more minutes in the pro cage with 4.5 more years in pro MMA. And Charles is the better submission grappler in this fight, especially defensively. We don't see Chuck initiate the grappling much, but when he does, he tends to get to the back, and he has a great Kimura trap and solid submission defense when his opponent gets to his back. Chuck is 2-0 to the submission in his career, while Blood Diamond is 1-1. So I could see Chuck pulling the wrestling out of his back pocket here and taking advantage of the fact that Blood Diamond's 2 UFC fights, he's been taken down 3.06 times per 15 minutes, and he's been controlled by his opponents over 70% of his UFC cage time, losing over 92% of the control time positions that he has been in. So even though Charlie is making his UFC debut and Blood Diamond has 2 UFC fights, it's actually Charlie who's faced, beaten, and lost to the better brand of competition. Chuck has 4 CFFC fights, and he won the welterweight belt there, and he's fought Austen Hubbard on the regional scene, and he has a Bellator fight as well. Blood Diamond came into the UFC with only 3 pro fights and no notable wins, so I definitely give the strength of schedule edge to Chuck Buffalo here. This should be an interesting fight. It's going to be a tall order for Chuck to make the long trip to Australia and get a win in his UFC debut in front of a hostile crowd, but right now the bookies have him at 75% implied to win this fight. On the feet, at distance striking range, I think both guys are capable and dangerous. Where we do see Chuck having the advantage is in the clinch and grappling, where we've seen Blood Diamond frankly look lost. Both of these guys have power and are dangerous at distance striking range. And if I thought that this fight was going to be a kickboxing match, I'd jump at the +250 money line for Blood Diamond. That being said, he does such a bad job of staying at distance striking range. You have to feel the grappling path to victory will be wide open for Ratke should he choose to go that route. I saw far too many times in the Dimps Gillies fight and in the Orion Kosi fight, Blood Diamond have his opponent hurt, and then he puts himself into the clinch while his corner screams at him to get out of there. I'm picking Radke to win this fight by decision, but I'm definitely not laying the chalk here. And yeah, I mean, I think that this is an interesting one because, Blood Diamond, if he keeps this at distance striking range, he's going to look a lot better than plus 260. But he puts himself into the clinch so many times, and he's so reckless and so just like shows very poor fight IQ. It seems like every time I've seen him hurt his opponent on the feet, he's in the clinch less than 5 seconds later, and that just shows really bad finishing instincts for MMA. So if he's not going to be able to finish Charlie or be able to keep this fight at distance striking range, I don't see him winning. So yeah, we're going to go with Charlie Radke, otherwise known as Chuck Buffalo, to win this fight by decision here. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We've got Remdog saying, I can look past Blood Diamond losing to Jeremiah Wells, but Orion Kosi is a bad look. Yeah, man, when you watch that Dimps Gillies fight too, it was the same thing, man. I mean, it was a pretty close fight. It's just Dimps didn't really have any big moments in the fight, and Blood Diamond was having some success, but yeah, he just cannot seem to stay at distance striking range and use footwork and technique to stay there. He just seems to get too out over his skis, and then he winds up in the clinch when he shouldn't. So yeah, it's very frustrating if you're looking to bet him and you see him pulling that shit. So yeah, the next fight that we're going to talk about though is Nasrat Haqparast. He's going to be going up against Landon Quinones, making his UFC debut. Haqparast a huge favorite here at minus 470 on the money line. Landon Quinones plus 370. Fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 110 for this fight. So let's first start talking about Nasrat Haqparast and his advantages here. So Landon is taking this fight on short notice up a weight class. Nasrat was supposed to fight Sam Patterson in Paris last weekend, but when Patterson had to pull out, the UFC rescheduled Haqparast for this card 1 week later versus Quinones. Nasrat's the natural 155er, so he's going to be the bigger dude here. Nasrat has the experience advantage. He's got 10 more pro fights and over 80 more minutes in the pro cage and 5 more years as a professional fighter. Nasrat also has the UFC experience advantage as he has 10 more pro fights, 10 more UFC fights and over 125 more minutes in the octagon as Quinones makes his UFC debut in Australia on short notice. So this is going to be a tough road to hoe for the debutant in Quinones. Now, Nasrat's a very clean striker. His fights stay standing over 83% of the time, and while fights are at distance striking range, he's got a positive 0.08 distance striking differential, 43% accuracy, and stellar 67% defense, above average in both categories. The best part of Nasrat's striking is his defense. He manages range well. He uses lateral movement to deal with pressure fighters. He keeps his hands high, and when he does plant and throw, he does so in combination and then gets back out of range after he's done throwing. Nasrat is hard to find on the feet and a very solid minute winner at range. And Nasrat does a good job of using his wrestling in reverse in order to keep fights at distance striking range. He has 79% takedown defense against 33 attempts, and he's only been controlled for about 1/8 of his UFC cage time. So if you want to take Nasrat down, you need to be persistent because he will probably stop the first couple of attempts, and his lateral movement and distance management in his distance striking makes it difficult to find high percentage entries. And without question, Nasrat has fought, beaten, and lost to the superior brand of competition, and it isn't even close. Now, Landon Quinones is a well-rounded fighter. His striking is clean. He uses all his weapons well. He has a sneaky head kick, and he loves the pressure and throwing combination. In addition, Landon has flashed some power, landing highlight reel KOs like he did against Yemi Uduwale and Jeffrey Roy, and he shows a solid clinch game in the Muhammad Naimov fight as he landed the bigger shots there and did a great job of landing elbows on the way out of the clinch. The kid also mixes in the wrestling to win minutes, so he does show the ability to use all the tools in his toolbox and find multiple paths to victory. But this is a huge ask for Landon Quinones. He's up a weight class on less than 2 weeks' notice and flying to Australia to fight a 10-fight UFC veteran who's bigger, faster, more experienced, the cleaner striker, and a guy with almost 80% takedown defense. Excuse me, I had to cough there, you guys. So, who's been controlled for only an eighth of his octagon time, and we're talking about Haqparast there. Maybe Landon can win minutes at distance and mix in a takedown or two, but like I said, under these circumstances, this is a huge ask. The line is frankly crazy, though. Haqparast is a very good, well-rounded, and well-tested fighter. But frankly, he's spectacular nowhere. He doesn't have one-punch KO power. He doesn't have great wrestling, and he doesn't have a dangerous submission game. But he does have all the advantages on paper against the debutant in Quinones. I like Landon's game. I think he has a bright future. He's only 27 years old, and his only pro loss came against Muhammad Naimov, and I thought he won that fight. Laying minus 500 on Haqparast is something I absolutely would not do. And this line is so wide. I think Landon could keep this close. So I took a 0.5 unit shot on Quinones at plus 350 for the exact same reason I took a shot on Muhammad Naimov versus Mullarkey. You don't lay minus 500 on fighters who don't put a stamp on their wins. Not in this economy, ladies and gentlemen. The pick is Nasrat Haqparast by decision, but I'll be rooting for Quinones to pull out a close decision and to cash my plus 350 money line ticket. You never know. Landon does flash some power. He could land that left hand. It's southpaw versus southpaw. It's an interesting stylistic matchup. The pick, like I say, is going to be Nasrat Haqparast to win by decision. Bigger, more experienced, better boxer, really good takedown defense, and really good just defense as a whole. So I'm going to go with Haqparast, but I think Landon can make this close. And if he does, and it goes to decision, I'll have that plus 350 ticket in my hand, and I'll be feeling pretty good about it. All right, you guys, the next fight that let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. My guy Sean V is huge on Nasrat Haqparast, saying this is Nasrat all day. UFC feeding Landon and Nasrat in his debut. Yeah, dude, it wasn't meant to be that, though, Sean. He was supposed to fight Sam Patterson, so this is like a backup plan so that they could get Nasrat a fight. So, yeah, very, very tough ask. But Nasrat going to Australia wasn't the plan for him, believe me. He was supposed to be fighting in Paris last weekend. Let's see. Only crypto fans saying, who the fuck is Weezy? I don't know who Weezy is, actually. We got to keep it cool saying, whenever I see insane odds like this on unranked fighters, I just remind myself Khabib was only minus 300 against Gaethje, when Gaethje's ground game tape study should make Khabib minus 1,200. Yeah, it's wild, right? And then you see somebody like Haqparast, who has one finish in the UFC, and the rest are decisions. And like you watch the Makdessi fight, you can make an argument that Makdessi won that fight. And Makdessi's 38 years old, so this guy Haqparast, he's clean, he's smooth, his footwork is phenomenal, and he's so defensively responsible that it's really hard to find moments against him. So he can win minutes, he can win fights with that really well-schooled, great footwork, great striking game that he has, but he's not putting stamps on fights, so you don't lay minus 500 on fighters like that. That's why I took the shot on Quinones here. We got Nos Dog in the room saying Nasrat by homicide. We got Detroit What saying Nasrat by decision. And we got Antonio saying, hey, Unc, I missed the greasy four-legger last week. Did it hit? It was 3 out of 4 legs that hit. We had the Ozdemir money line. We had the fight doesn't go to decision in the main event. We had Firo by decision. That was 3, but the leg that didn't hit was I had the over 2.5 rounds in the Benoit Saint Denis Thiago Moises fight, and Moises quit. He quit at the end of the second round there. So it probably should have hit, but we were off by 1 leg again for the second week in a row. So getting close, Antonio, just not actually cashing them. All right. So yeah, Haqparast by decision is the pick, you guys. Let's go on to the next fight, which is going to be Jamie Mullarkey, hometown product, minus 260, Central Coast, stand up, going up against John Makdessi, the 39-year-old, at plus 220. Fight doesn't go to decision here at plus 140. Let's get the stats up on the screen for this one. And let's first start talking about Jamie Mullarkey's advantages in this spot. So he's going to have some nice measurables advantages here. He's more than 9 years younger than John Makdessi. He's 4 inches taller, and he's got a 6-inch reach advantage, all significant measurables advantages on the Mullarkey side. Jamie's been the more opportunistic finisher as a pro. He has the better finish rate both as a pro, where it's 82% for Mullarkey, 50% for Makdessi, and then at the UFC level as well, Mullarkey's finished 50% of his wins, Makdessi 25%. And Jamie's flashed some power in the UFC. He's got 2 UFC knockdowns and 2 UFC wins by way of knockout. Both of those knockdowns resulted in finishes against Kama Worthy and Devonta Smith. And Jamie is the more aggressive wrestler and submission grappler in this matchup. He's attempted 45 takedowns in 8 UFC fights, averaging 2.91 takedowns per 15 minutes on 8.19 attempts. Jamie wins 80% of the control time positions in his fights, and about 30% of his octagon time is spent in control time positions, while for Makdessi, it's less than 6%. Jamie is 3 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his career, and Makdessi is 0 wins and 1 loss. So if there is one guy on paper who would be more likely to win the grappling exchanges, it's Mullarkey. But Makdessi's very difficult to take down and hold down, as evidenced by his less than 4% control time allowed in his 14 UFC fights. And in those fights, he's faced 36 takedown attempts. He's only been taken down 5 times. 86% takedown defense, less than 4% control time allowed for Makdessi. So even though Mullarkey definitely has that grappling advantage on paper, it's going to be hard to make it work against John Makdessi. Now, John has the overall and UFC experience advantages. He has 4 more pro fights and over 100 more minutes of cage time. He also has 6 more fights at the UFC level and 85 more minutes of octagon time. John has been a little more durable, as he's only been finished in 3 of 8 pro losses, 37.5%, while for Mullarkey, it's 4 of 6, or 67% of his losses he's been finished in. And John is a very technical striker. His nickname is the Bull, and he got that name because of how he pressures his opponents. John is always at a height and reach disadvantage, but he makes up for that by making his opponent stay on his back foot. He manages range well by throwing a lot of kicks, and he's extremely defensively responsible. John's UFC striking metrics over a 14-fight sample size of over 158 minutes of distance striking. John's metrics are better everywhere compared to Mullarkey's. John lands more distance strikes per minute, 5.88 to 4.88. He throws more, 11.71 attempts for John, 11.17 for Mullarkey. He's more accurate, 50% for Makdessi, 44% for Jamie. He's more defensively responsible, 67% distance striking defense for Makdessi, only 58.5% for Mullarkey. And in addition, John spends over 94% of his octagon time at distance striking range, where he's excellent at winning minutes with that pressure and distance management. And John has the slightly better overall strength to schedule metrics in a larger sample size of fights. So Jamie Mullarkey at minus 280 in this economy, no thank you, sir. I'll pass. Makdessi is not even close to being out of his depth here. Mind you, it's a huge ask for the 39-year-old at a 4-inch height and 6-inch reach disadvantage to go to Australia and pull out a win versus a local fighter. But this fight's going to be close. Makdessi has been at a height and reach disadvantage in every single UFC fight. So this is a situation that he's used to. John is very good at managing range and keeping fights standing. And when he's at distance striking range is when he does his best work. And the numbers bear that out. Makdessi outlanded Haqparast in his last fight. Don't tell me Mullarkey is any better than Nasrat. I think that this fight goes to decision. And once it does, it's more than likely we see the hometown product get the nod. So Mullarkey by decision is the pick. That being said, Makdessi's money line at plus 240 and his decision prop at plus 325 are very interesting, in my opinion. I just don't think Mullarkey is a world beater. I don't think you lay that kind of price on guys that really don't put stamps on wins unless they're knocking out chinny guys like Devontae Smith and Kama Worthy. But outside of that, man, I mean, like the Michael Johnson fight, I thought he lost. The Prado fight was, I mean, not a good look for him. He got a win, but Prado didn't even show up to fight. And then Muhammad Naimov, he was a minus 500 favorite and got sparked in the second round. So, I think Makdessi's very live here. And at these prices, I think he could make this a pretty good bet that may or may not cash. But I am not laying that juice on Mullarkey this week, and I am not parlaying him. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We've got Nos Dog saying, I love Mullarkey. We got Rem Dog saying, I had a greasy four-legger that would have hit if the Gomez fight went. Oh, my God. That's a rough beat, Rem Dog, because that fight should not have been stopped. Dog shit refereeing there. Unbelievable stuff. Detroit What in the room saying 6-inch reach. What a bunch of malarkey. Yeah, he's got that reach advantage. He's a much bigger, than Makdessi. Makdessi's very small for the weight class. And Keep It Cool saying there'll be lots of Australian simp money on their own people that we could look for spots to take advantage of. Potentially, man. It's always the people who put their money where their mouth is that drive these markets. And hype does drive the lines. And John Makdessi doesn't have any hype on him. He's 39. He's undersized. He hasn't had a highlight reel knockout in years. So he's the kind of guy people fade. But I think that it's going to be a closer fight than what the line is saying it's going to be. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be Jack Farr Jenkins at minus 200 going up against Chepe, Machine Gun Mariscal, plus 170. The fight doesn't go to decision here, plus 130 for this fight. So let's get these stats up on the screen for you guys. And we're going to first start talking about our guy, Jack Farr Jenkins here. Jack is 1 year younger and 1 inch taller than Chepe. Jack also is a switch stance fighter against an orthodox, so that's a statistical advantage. Even though it's Chepe who has the pro experience advantage, it's actually Jenkins who, between his Dana White Contender Series fight and 2 UFC fights, who has 44 and a half minutes in the octagon compared to 1 fight and 15 minutes for Chepe. So Jenkins edges Chepe in the UFC experience department. Jack has really good technical boxing. He throws in combination. He mixes up his targets. He's got a nasty low leg kick that he uses to maintain range. And he also finishes combinations with it as well. In 30 minutes of octagon time, Jack has a positive 1.51 distance striking differential. He's got 53% accuracy, 63.5% defense, and both of those numbers are above average for the division. He definitely is in good shape at distance striking ranges, Jack. And then he's also done a good job of mixing in the wrestling to win minutes. He's averaging 2.5 takedowns per 15. He's gotten 5 of his 6 UFC takedown attempts for 83.33% accuracy. And Jack has also shown 78% takedown defense, and he wins almost 50% of his fights control time positions, despite the fact he only attempts 40% of the takedowns. Jack also had 4 takedowns in his Dana White Contender Series fight versus Linares, and he racked up over 11 minutes of control time in that fight. So Jack does have multiple tools in his toolbox that allow him to be able to win minutes and moments wherever the fight goes. Now, Chepe has the overall experience advantage. He's got 7 more fights and over 60 more minutes in the pro cage and 1.5 more years as a professional fighter. Chepe is a well-rounded, well-tested mixed martial artist. He trains at elevation. He showed off some excellent cardio in a high-paced war against Trevor Peek in his UFC debut, and that fight was on short notice, up a weight class. Judo black belt is Chepe Mariscal. He was a junior college national qualifier in wrestling, so he does have a well-rounded grappling game that allows him to win minutes like he did against Peek, getting 4 takedowns and 5.5 minutes of control time. Chepe is also 3 wins and 0 losses to the submission in his pro career, while Jenkins is 3 wins and 2 losses to the sub. So there could be some opportunities to get a sub for Chepe here. And he's fought and beaten the better level of competition as a professional. Even though he has less UFC fights than Jenkins, Chepe has fought names like Sean Soriano, Steve Garcia, Joe Anderson Brito, Yusuf Zalal, Pat Sabatini, Carl Deaton III, Bryce Mitchell, and Gregor Gillespie. So he's definitely the more well-tested fighter, and he's been in there with an extremely high level of competition as Chepe Mariscal. Now we get to see Chepe at his natural weight class of 145 pounds. And it's going to be a tough road to hoe fighting a guy like Jack Jenkins in Australia. These guys definitely have similar skill sets. Both guys are well-rounded and well-tested. Both have excellent conditioning. I'd say Jenkins' stand-up is a little bit better, and I like Mariscal's judo and submission game a little bit better than I like Jack's. I think Jack is the rightful favorite due to the home field advantage, but I'm not laying the juice on Jenkins here because I do think Chepe can find ways to win minutes and rounds here against Jenkins. But I think the leg kicks of Jenkins make the difference here, and I'll pick Jenkins to win this fight by decision. So, did I even give you guys a prediction here? I think I'm going with Mullarkey by decision, but I think that Makdessi is definitely the guy that is the value side in this spot. And I think there's value on Chepe Mariscal. Dude's really tough. But I do think that Jack Jenkins is going to get the job done here, and I think he gets it done by decision, which brings us to the last 6 fights of the night. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got Volkov will smash your boy, says F you guys. We're going to talk about that fight shortly. And we got Jester saying the Jack money line and the Cap money line is minus 115. That's a pretty good parlay. If you think that Jack is a good safe bet to cover that, I think Manel Kape's a very safe bet. All right, you guys, let's move on to this next fight. It is going to be Carlos Ulberg at minus 260 going up against Jung at plus 220. Fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 325 for this fight. All right. And there's the Ulberg stats. And let's first start talking about Carlos Ulberg's advantages in this one. Carlos is a phenomenal kickboxer. Kickboxing is his base, and he thrives at distance striking range. Thus far, over a 28-minute sample size of distance striking statistics, Ulberg has a positive 4.65 distance strike differential, unheard of 62% distance striking accuracy, and below average 52.5% defense. Carlos stays busy, throwing 5.88 more distance strike attempts than his opponents do, and the power is also there as he has 3 knockdowns in 5 UFC fights, and 3 of his 4 UFC wins come by way of knockout. Carlos is a capable minute and moment winner at distance striking range, and his UFC fights have stayed at distance striking range over 93% of his total octagon time. Now, Jung is 3 years younger, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage here over Ulberg, and he's got the overall and UFC experience advantages. He's got 11 more pro fights, over 100 more minutes in the pro cage. Jung also has 2 more UFC fights and almost 35 more minutes in the octagon. Jung has flashed some power at the UFC level. He has 3 knockdowns in 7 UFC fights, landing a knockdown on 1.88% of the distance strikes that he lands. 2 of his 4 UFC wins come by way of knockout. So Jung is also dangerous at distance striking range. And Jung has excellent grappling efficiency in the UFC. Jung has attempted 18 takedowns, and his opponents have attempted 20 against him. But Jung outcontrols his opponents 31.7% to 13%, winning over 70% of the control time positions his fights have been in. He gets his takedowns at a 50% clip, which is way above average, and he defends them at 80%, also way above average. So Jung's grappling game is not to be ignored here. And Jung has faced the more experienced brand of UFC competition. So in summary, Jung has a lot of advantages on paper in this spot. He's younger. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He's more experienced. He has power, and his grappling efficiency has been excellent thus far in the UFC. And he's faced the more experienced fighters in the UFC. Jung needs to grapple here. If this stays at distance striking range, Ulberg is too technical, way too fast, and too accurate for Jung. That speed and length of Ulberg is tough to deal with, and he's hard to counter because he uses his length so well. The difference in distance striking accuracy here is alarming. 62%, as you see right here for Carlos Ulberg, and then you look across the aisle, and Dao Jung couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat with a 36.61% distance striking accuracy. So, yeah, the numbers are just much better on the Ulberg side pretty much everywhere, but especially in the accuracy. While this fight is at distance striking range, Jung is going to have a bad time. Ulberg has done a good job of dealing with pressure fighters like Negumereanu, Peterier, and Shukwi. So I think the big cage Ulberg should be able to use his lateral movement to deal with Jung's pressure, pick him apart from the outside, and I could see him finding a big shot against a guy like Jung, who has subpar distance striking defense at 54.5%. So I'm picking Ulberg to win this one by second round knockouts. KO round 2. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. F you guys saying love you guys. F you guys comes into this room and he's usually just saying like, F you guys to everybody. But he comes in here and he says he loves us. That's how good the programming is here. That's how friendly our chat is. The guys who have a name like F you guys will come in here and say that he loves you guys. And I appreciate you, my man. Detroit Watt saying only one underdog on the last card, I believe. Yeah, and it was Cornhole who lost the fight, really. So that was wild. And that line had been flipping all week, so it was close to a pick 'em a lot of the time. I do think Volkov will win, says Keep It Cool, but my confidence has shrunk thinking about the fact that Tuivasa could even get to Gan's chin, and Gan is much more nimble and rangy than Volkov. Yeah, that's for sure, dude. Tuivasa's performance against Gan was pretty good, man. Detroit Watt saying, we want shoeies. I do not drink beer out of a shoe, ever. I'm a beer connoisseur. I like it out of a glass. We got F you guys saying Ty is more worried about the after party than the fight. Yeah, he'll be there at that after party, win or lose. That's for sure, man. Antonio Esparza is saying, are you concerned about Jung's last fight against Clark? He looked way off. Yeah, but, that was a stylistic different fight. Devin Clark is, a JUCO national champion wrestler. Carlos Ulberg is a pure kickboxer. He's not going to be grappling here. So Jung didn't look good when he had to grapple with a grappler, but he could look very good when he grapples with a kickboxer. So I don't think he's going to look as off as he did in the last fight, because I think that was a different stylistic matchup that maybe he wasn't as prepared for as he will be in this particular fight. But this is a bad matchup for him too, because it's hard to picture Jung having a lot of success at distance striking range against somebody as talented, as fast, as technical as Carlos Ulberg. And we got Daz Files in the room. What is up, Daz? Always good to see you hanging out in here. Let's get to this next fight, because it's going to be an absolute pleasure to watch this one. This is going to be a barn burner, ladies and gentlemen. We got Tyson Pedro, the favorite, at -114, going up against Anton, the pleasure man, Turkalj, at -106. Fight doesn't go to decision for this one at -250. You guys, I got to blow my nose. I'm all stuffed up for some reason. I'm going to top off my water Give me 60 seconds and I'll be back. No. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Hard to talk for 2 hours straight when your nose is all stuffed up. So now we're going to break down Pedro versus Turkalj, and this is going to be a super fun fight. So let's first start talking about Tyson Pedro's advantages in this spot. Tyson's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He's got more pro and UFC experience. He's got 3 more pro fights and 15 more minutes in the pro cage than Anton. Plus, he's got 7 more UFC fights and over 40 more minutes in the octagon. And Tyson is a very opportunistic finisher. He's got a 100% finish rate in 9 pro wins, 5 submissions, 4 knockouts. Tyson has the way better distance striking metrics. He's got a positive 1.36 distance striking differential compared to negative 1.15 for Turkalj. He's more accurate, 57% compared to 50% for Turkalj. And he's more defensively responsible at 65% at distance compared to about 59% for Turkalj. And he's landed 4 UFC knockdowns in 9 fights while Anton has 0. And Tyson has better grappling efficiency than Anton in the UFC. Tyson wins 41% of his fights control time positions, despite attempting only 35% of the takedowns. Tyson is a BJJ black belt, and he's got 5 wins by submission in his career. Now, Turkalj is 4.5 years younger. He's 1 inch taller, and he's significantly more handsome than Pedro, and that's a mental advantage to have for sure. And Anton is incredibly durable. The chin on this kid is unbelievable. I can't believe he ate some of the shots he did against Petrino. And on the feet, Turkalj's unorthodox and powerful. His defense is bad. He's slow, and he's not very technical, but he's durable, and he's got a knack for finding moments on the feet like he did versus Konstantin Soldatov. And he does mix in the wrestling. We saw in his Dana White Contender Series fight that when he was outgunned on the feet, he could go to the wrestling and grappling to win minutes and stay safe. So it does seem like Turkalj, while being very durable, is also very good at finding moments in his own right. And he kind of finds it with his bad defense. It's like the bad defense sets up like this back and forth war. And in these back and forth wars, the opponent will get tired trying to knock out Turkalj, landing big shots that are knocking out guys that they have fought before, but Turkalj's still standing, and he's so durable that he can and has such good conditioning that he can come and find moments later on in the fight after his opponent gasses, or just even getting to the back in the scramble, or landing big shots after his opponent takes a deep breath, because he's tired from unloading on Turkalj and not knocking him down. So Turkalj is a great moment winner. Tyson Pedro is a great moment winner. But one of these guys is durable, and one of these guys has good conditioning. And neither one of those guys is Tyson Pedro. Let's just put it that way. Pedro has been finished in 2 of his 4 losses. He's been finished by Mauricio Shogun Rua. He's been submitted by Ovid Crew. This guy, he's not durable like Turkalj. And we saw Pedro pretty much quit out there last time out there against somebody who doesn't even do anything in Bukauskas. So I know that he said he was sick, but that's kind of, he fought like he was sick. That was a terrible performance against Modestas Bukauskas. So, hopefully he has more for Turkalj, because if he doesn't, and he doesn't get Turkalj out of there in the first, Anton finds a moment in the second or the third when this guy gasses out or gives up. And, we're just not, I don't know where Tyson Pedro is here. he should be the better technical kickboxer. He should be the better submission grappler. He's fought the better brand of competition. But if he's got quit in him, if he's got bad conditioning, if he's got either one of those things going for him against a guy like Turkalj, he's gonna get finished late in the fight. So this is a very interesting fight because I think on paper, Tyson Pedro has got all the advantages, but we know that conditioning is something that you don't really have on paper. Durability is not something that you have on paper because there's no metric that calculates it. But Turkalj has that. And I just have to think right now that as good as I've seen Tyson Pedro be in the past, that version of him where he was beating guys like Khalil Roundtree and Paul Craig, dude, that was 6 years ago. This guy took 3 years off, had several surgeries. And then the fights that he did take, I mean, they're against the bottom of the barrel guys. I mean, like serious mixed martial artists at 205 are not taking fights against Ike Villanueva and Harry Hunsucker. They're taking fights like that because they're like, I don't know where I'm at right now. I need a measuring stick to see if I'm healthy again. Because if Tyson Pedro had, anybody that's got championship aspirations is not taking fights against Villanueva and Hunsucker and Bukowskis. They're waiting to get real opponents that they can show that they're ready to take the next step. Tyson Pedro is looking like he's showing up for paychecks. And if his opponent can give him more than 5 minutes of resistance, that he might just look for the door. So I got to go with the Pleasure Man here, everybody. I'm going to go with Pleasure Man by third round knockout. But I don't have my money anywhere near this fight right now. And I just don't know what to think. I think I need more information about Pedro because he said he was sick for the last fight, like shitting in the back, diarrhea, whatever. It's hard to fight under those circumstances, even if it's somebody like Modestas Bukowskis. They're going to get the best of you if you're not out there at 100%. So we'll see. Maybe Pedro comes back and fights the way we were expecting him to fight, but I'm not confident in this guy right now, and I'm a lot more confident in the conditioning and the durability of Turkalj, and I think he can find a late finish here. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Daz Files saying, I like a bit of horseradish and garlic when I get stuffed up nasally. Yeah, that helps, dude. That'll clean everything out, man. Keep it cool saying, if anyone likes certain minutes here from Weezy, consider making a clip using the button next to share and share it on social media. I did on Ash Shaving of the Week clip for him last week and tweeted it when he was right. Yeah, I appreciate that, dude. And that helps me because when you clip something and then the other people watch it, it actually becomes from the views of my video as well. So it helps me out with the amount of views and stuff like that. But that was really cool because I've never done that. I always do my shows live because I have no video editing skills. So yeah, I need you young bucks to do that. The ones with all the technological skills that your Uncle Weezy doesn't have. Who let the dogs out? Says Krovac. What's up, Krovac? Thanks for hanging out with us. Detroit, what saying? Izzy's poor dogs. Oh God. Turkalj definitely going to pleasure someone. Yes, he will. That's what he does, man. Chaz Bono's manly beard says Tyson Pedro's old man used to own King of the Cage in Australia. Yes, that's true. So this kid, he grew up in mixed martial arts. So he's from a very young age, he was cut out for this. And you saw it early in his career. But I just don't know if this guy's healthy anymore. I don't know if he's motivated anymore. There's a lot of questions left to be answered. But Tyson Pedro was once one of the most feared prospects at 205, and he's still fairly young. Don't trust Pedro or Ty. They're ready to drink. We got Juicy saying using the Pleasure Man as a measuring stick. Ew. Yeah, well, it is, though. I mean, we got to find out where this guy is at because right now, like that Bukowskis fight was such a bad look that, he's not beating anybody in the division. if that's how he's going to fight the rest of the way out. So we've got to make sure that that's not the new Tyson Pedro. This line's flipped a bit. I'm looking at Pleasure Man minus 106. We got real fight picks in. I love the way you deliver the breakdowns. Thanks for doing a late night show. Absolutely, man. I appreciate you hanging out here, man. And we got Daz Files saying all Pedro's friends and family be here. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, he's a local product. So, I mean, they're going to be really rooting him on here. It's going to be tough for the Pleasure Man to come all the way from Sweden to Australia to get this win. So that's something you have to keep in mind for your handicapping on this one. All right, you guys. Let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be, we already talked about that one. It's going to be Justin Tafa at minus 200 going up against Austen Lane at plus 170. The fight doesn't go to decision for this one. Minus 600. So, yeah, the bookies are very confident that somebody's going to wind up sleeping here. And in my opinion, it's going to be Austen Lane that's going to be the one sleeping. But let's talk about these guys. First, talk about Austen Lane's advantages. He's the much bigger dude, 6 inches taller, 6-inch reach advantage. Lane is more experienced as a pro. He's got 6 more pro fights, a couple more minutes in the pro cage, and a couple more months as a pro. So he's also been the busier fighter, fighting about 2.5 times per year compared to about 1.5 for Tafa. Lane, definitely the way more gifted athlete. Tafa is a tough guy with bricks for hands, but Lane is explosive. He played defensive line in the NFL, and his athletic gifts carry him a long way in this sport. If he can find ways to use that athleticism to outwork Tafa, he can find paths to victory here. Austen should be the better wrestler. We've never seen Tafa wrestle. He's a pure kickboxer. So if Austen does have some wrestling in his back pocket and the willingness to use it, he could find ways to win minutes and get this fight to places where Tafa won't be nearly as dangerous. And Justin Tafa, though, is 6 years younger than Austen Lane. He's got the UFC experience advantage with 6 more fights and 37 more minutes in the octagon. And he's definitely the better technical kickboxer. Both these guys have 100% finish rates and both get knockouts almost every time. But it's clear that Tafa has a striking background, while Lane is just an athletic freak who uses that explosiveness to find moments rather than good footwork and crisp pocket boxing. Tafa's flash power in the UFC, 3 knockdowns in 6 UFC fights, and all 3 of his UFC wins have come by way of knockout. Excuse me. My nose is just killing me, you guys. Give me just a second. Okay. So yeah, this is a very low level fight. You know, my money, I don't know if it's going to get anywhere near it. I mean, I think Tafa is the much more technical and powerful kickboxer. I've seen nothing on tape from Lane to suggest that he can win this fight by getting takedowns, landing ground and pound. So I feel this fight stays on the feet at distance striking range. I have to favor the higher level of experience of Tafa and pick him to win by first round knockout. So, yeah, Justin Badman Tafa by KO, round 1 is the pick for this fight. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Saying a lot of Kiwis live up the coast a few hours drive from Sydney. Okay. Yeah, and he's saying Tafa's going to KO this fool. I'm right there with you. Yeah, Austen Lane, better than Greg Hardy. Yeah, and dude, Greg Hardy knocked out Austen Lane, by the way, so he's not better than Greg Hardy. Easy picks and bets in the room saying, what's up, Unk? Made it just in time for Austen Finger Banger Lane. Let's go, man. We got Antonio saying, what were your thoughts on the eye poke last time between these two, and who wanted to see the fight again? Yeah, man. It's like they made the fight. It didn't happen because of the eye poke. So then now they're remaking it. Nobody wanted this. Nobody really wanted this, but it is what it is. But it's going to be much tougher this time around for Lane because he's got to fight in Australia. If you think Lane can win, just bet fight starts round 2 is his plus 120, and he's not KOing Tafa. Yeah, Yeah. Sorry, that didn't mean call Lane a fool. Just didn't like that eye poke. Yeah, I hear you, man. That was a terrible one. Tafa really got hurt by that one for sure, man. And it was like a Three Stooges eye poke. He got both eyes. There, it's a nasty thing to have happened, and Tafa hopefully is okay from that. All right, let's go to the next fight here, which is going to be Tuivasa at plus 209 going up against Alexander Volkov at minus 244. The fight doesn't go to decision at minus 325 for this fight. So let's get these stats up here. So Tuivasa, the younger guy by about 4.5 years, but obviously Volkov is the bigger dude with 5 inches of height and 5 inches of reach. But it's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, and Tuivasa is the southpaw. Both of these guys are very experienced, especially at the UFC level, but Volkov's experience is on another level, really. 46 fights, over 400 minutes in the pro cage, over 14 years as a pro. So 3 more years as a fighter, 310 more minutes in the pro cage, 27 more fights. And even Volkov has the UFC experience advantage with 1 more fight and about 90 more minutes in the octagon. But it's Tuivasa who's the better finisher. 88% finish rate in 8 wins at the UFC level and a 93% finish rate in his pro career. While Volkov, 24 knockouts in his career, 6 knockouts in 10 UFC wins. So these guys have got a combined 13 of their 18 wins coming inside the distance at the UFC level. And they both have been finished as well. Tuivasa finished in 4 of 5 losses at the UFC level, and for Volkov, it's 2 of 4. So you could see why the violence prop on this fight is at minus 325, because these guys, not only are they both violent men getting a bunch of knockouts, but they also get knocked out as well. In terms of the striking, Volkov is going to be the better striker. He's got that positive 2.85 distance striking differential. He's 10% more accurate at distance than Tuivasa. He's about 10% more defensively responsible at distance. And he's got some knockdowns as well. He's got 3 knockdowns in his 14 UFC fights. But the thing is, Ty's got 8 knockdowns in 13 fights. So Ty is landing a knockdown on 3.24% of the distance strikes that he lands, while it's only 0.39% for Alexander Volkov. But we have seen Volkov's power look a little bit different, because he used to be a lot skinnier. Now he weighs in at 265. Now he's got a lot more muscle on that frame. Even his legs are big. So we definitely see a guy in Volkov who should be the better minute winner. But when it comes to winning moments, and winning moments is so important in heavyweight fights, because there are, heavyweight fights finish inside the distance so much more than any other weight class. So when you talk about somebody being a minute winner, you always have to wonder, are they going to lose any moments? Because if they do, you can win all the minutes, but that one moment that you lose can turn the fight and wind up flipping the result from win to loss. So Tuivasa's moment winning at the UFC level has something that we really have to consider here. The guy is 13-3 to the knockout in his career, and he's got a ton of power. But Volkov is going to be more defensively responsible. He's going to be more accurate. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here, so he should be the better distance range manager, better kicker. But Tuivasa, with those low leg kicks and with that power, is always a difficult opponent. And I think the moment winning of Tuivasa is just as likely to win this fight as the moment winning of Volkov and the minute winning of Volkov. We really can't count on Volkov to wrestle here. And when you look at these guys' wins, 1.27 ratio for both of them, and the same amount of experience. So the wins for Volkov are just as good as the wins for Tuivasa. I think Volkov probably has fought the better level of competition overall, as we see overall, the ratio is a little bit better. Overall, he's fighting the slightly more experienced competition, but it's not a big difference. So this is probably a striking match, and both guys are very dangerous. But Tuivasa with this, 1.38 knockdowns per 15 minutes, a 3.24 knockdown percentage on his distance strikes, and those great low leg kicks, which might make it difficult for Volkov to move well later on in the fight and use the elusiveness you have to have a guy against a guy that swings as big as Tuivasa here. This is one of the harder fights actually to pick on the card for me, but I do think that Volkov can do enough to win the minutes of this fight at distance and avoid the big shot. So I'm going to pick him to win it, and I'm actually going to pick him to win it by decision, which is odd because, this fight, the bookies have it going, finishing inside the distance almost 80% of the time. But my read here is that Tuivasa is pretty damn durable, and that Volkov's a little bit low volume and a little bit less precise than somebody like Cyril Gane, who just recently picked him apart. So I'm going to go with Volkov to win this fight by decision. Oh, my God. And I fucking missed the Kape fight. All right. Tai Tuivasa, Alexander Volkov winning by decision here. So that's why I didn't put in a ticker for it. So let me do this. Manel. Is Manel right now? Minus 385. Santos is plus 320. And the fight doesn't go to decision is minus 215. Here. And we'll show this one now. So this is the next fight that we're going to talk about. Kape versus Dos Santos. So let's first start talking about Manel Kape here. All right. And it's going to be Dos Santos way younger here. Did we actually get any measurements here on this Dos Santos kid? Let's see. 5'7", 70-inch reach. Okay. And do they have an orthodox or orthodox? All right. So Dos Santos, 6 years younger than this guy, 2 inches taller, 2-inch reach advantage for Dos Santos. But Manel Kape's got the experience advantage overall. Like almost 200 more minutes in the pro cage, almost 7 more years as a pro fighter, 5 more UFC fights, almost an hour more in the octagon. He's the better finisher with an 89% finish rate, 16 of his 18 wins coming inside the distance. While Dos Santos has got a 72% finish rate. Manel Kape's only been subbed twice in 6 losses. He's only been finished twice in his career. Manel Kape striking very, very good. 51% accuracy, 55% defense. He's fairly low volume, but he's very explosive and very powerful. He can mix in the wrestling. BJJ black belt, phenomenal submissions. And Dos Santos is young. He's young. He's big for the division. He's a shootbox Diego Lima guy. Pretty good straight punches. Pretty good all-around game. But it's all just kind of like pretty good. When you watch this guy's tape, he's not really knocking your socks off. And Manel Kape is absolutely destroying dudes. I mean, made his debut against the champion in Pantoja and lost a unanimous decision in a very close fight that could have went either way. Lost a very close fight that could have went either way to Mateus Nicolau. Destroyed Odi Osborne. Destroyed Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Destroyed David Dvorak. And so a guy like Felipe dos Santos, who's going back and forth with Hugo Paiva, I just don't see a path for him against Kape. Kape might give up some minutes here, but he's so good at finding moments. He's so good at finding moments. And when he does, his finishing instincts are second to none for this division. And even if he doesn't find the finish, I think the conditioning is there. The wrestling could potentially be there, the grappling. So I think Manel's got a few different paths to victory here. I think he makes this one look pretty easy. I'm picking Manel Kape to win this one by second round knockouts. And I also have a small bet on Manel Kape to win this one by submission at plus 1,600. So Manel Kape by knockout in round 2 is the pick, but I took that really small shot, quarter unit at plus 1,600 for him to win by submission. And I parlayed Kape's money line with Carlos Ulberg's money line to get a pretty good number. I don't remember if it was plus money or not, but either way, Kape knockout round 2. Super, super tough road to hoe here for Felipe dos Santos in this fight. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Lane fought less women. Kape versus Dos Santos. Yep, it did not get canceled. I'm a dumbass. I skipped over it. Expect a spike in stolen cars fight night. It will be Tuivasa fans getting home from the city to the western suburbs. Volkov and Pavlovich came up together just saying, yeah. Detroit saying that one time the Black Beast lost the whole fight until the last minute. He KO'd Volkov. I remember that. That was wild. And that's what Tai Tuivasa can do too. He finds one big shot, and the trajectory of the fight can change. Volkov opened minus 180. Yeah, okay, so some steam came in on Volkov for sure. You think Volkov will wrestle Tai? Tai's takedown defense got a lot better. No, I don't think Volkov will. He's only attempted 10 takedowns in his entire UFC career. And even when you think he should have the grappling advantage, it's very, very clear that Volkov does not really a wrestler. He's not going to be a guy that's proactively going to try to get the fight to the ground. Tuivasa fans are going to wear those Hamburglar masks to the fight. Counter strikers must jump with glee when they hear they're fighting boxers that plod forward. Yes, that's for sure. It's very, very true because, yeah, the counter strikers up at this level, a lot of times people know that they're counter strikers, and then it winds up being a very low volume fight because you don't want to set up your opponent's offense. Yo, you so sick from COVID? No, I'm not anymore. But did I kick COVID's ass? I definitely did. But just for some reason today, like I'm just feeling like a little bit stuffed up or whatever. I mean, I was out late last night partying with friends, drinking beers during our draft and shit. So I definitely went hard last night. So I think that, and plus, it's 17 straight weeks of UFC. Like us content creators are worn the fuck down right now. So I need some time off. I need a vacation. I'm going to Greece at the end of the month and really looking forward to that week off, man. It's been way too long. All right. Main event, you guys. It is going to be Sean Strickland plus 475 going up against Isreal Adesanya minus 650. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 140 for this fight. So, yeah, I mean, Isreal is a big favorite here for a reason. Sean Strickland is a guy who in 19 UFC fights has only attempted 28 takedowns. When he goes for the takedowns, he gets them. And he outcontrols his opponents 11.25% to 6.1%. He's very efficient. He's attempted 28 takedowns. His opponents have attempted 50. But he wins about 65% of the control time positions in his fights because Sean is a phenomenal grappler. And Sean's also a very good boxer. I mean, if you actually look at the distance striking numbers, right, his defense is better than Adesanya's. He lands 2 more significant strikes per minute at distance than Adesanya does. He throws about 7 more attempts at distance per minute than Adesanya does. He's spending the same amount of his fights at distance striking range as Isreal Adesanya is. So, yeah, I mean, like, this guy, the numbers are there, like Sean can do it all. But with the Sean Strickland 2.0, the middleweight version of Sean Strickland is now just a boxer. He's a pressure boxer who stays behind the jab and stays in your face and wins minutes. And Isreal Adesanya is a brilliant minute winner at range. Very low volume, but very precise, very defensively responsible, sniper, powerful. He's got a 1.23% knockdowns per total significant strike. So if we take that 1054 times 0.0123, yeah, what's 1054 times 0.0123? That's 13 knockdowns in 15 fights for Isreal Adesanya. So while he's not the highest volume guy, while he's not the busiest guy, he's not the most defensively responsible, he does outland his opponents, but he's a sniper. He will find that big shot eventually. And when he finds that big shot, he turns the minute winning into moment winning. And then the good takedown defense at 78%, the fact that he's only been controlled 13% of his UFC career, despite the fact that he's faced 86 takedowns in 15 fights. Israel's very good at keeping fights standing. And like Sean, his fights are standing about 83% of the time. So, yeah, I could see Sean winning some minutes here. But, a guy like Adesanya, who is a counter striker, is going to be facing a guy who, plods forward, and it's probably going to be setting up some big shots for him. Sean Strickland could fight a number of different ways in order to make this an easier, performance for him. He could choose to wrestle. He could choose to make this a grappling match. But Sean Strickland doesn't give a shit about his own safety. I don't think he gives a shit about the belt. I think he wants to fight his fight. And his fight is not taking the easy way out and grappling here. It's going to be fighting Isreal Adesanya's fight and trying to beat Izzy at his own game. And he's not going to be successful doing that. That's why Isreal Adesanya is a minus 650 favorite in this spot. If anybody thought that Sean Strickland had the brains to wrestle, if anybody thought that Sean Strickland was like, this is my chance to be champion, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that on Saturday in Australia that I'm going to fight the game plan that gives me the best chance to do that. It's just not how he fights, unfortunately. So he's going to fight Israel's game, and Israel's going to chop him up from range. He might even finish him. But Sean's pretty durable, and I think that this one does go the distance. So I'm going to pick Isreal Adesanya to win this one by decision. All right, so Adesanya by decision. But if Sean Strickland chose to grapple, he could make this fight pretty damn close, and he could fight the type of fight that would tire out Isreal and make him a lot less dangerous. But Sean Strickland's Sean Strickland. He will always be Sean Strickland, and he is not going to do what's defensively responsible here to try to take Isreal out of what he does best. He just doesn't do that, unfortunately. So I got to go with Isreal to win this fight. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Saying it's time for that main event. Home wrecking knee knocker saying Tui going to win at home and get the shoey, especially with everyone picking and betting on Volkov. The UFC loves putting all that line movement from the brainwashed masses into their gold digging pockets. Keep it cool saying I feel like Sean had a much better chance to win that Juliana Pena did against Amanda. People acting like it's impossible that he wins. Yeah, it's certainly not impossible. Detroit What saying Sean by sub shocked the world. Yeah, that's like plus 2,500. So if you feel like he's got a chance, you better bet it because that is a fat number there. Antonio Esparza is saying good night, Unc. Sleep well. You need it. Yeah, I do need it, man. Real Fight Pick saying Renato Moicano brought up Sean's motorcycle accident on his podcast. He said Sean isn't the same as he was before. How can you argue with Renato? Yeah, dude. I mean, he had that nasty motorcycle accident. Took him a long time to rehab from the injuries that he has. He still rides that fucking motorcycle like a maniac. He doesn't care about his own safety, and I don't think he cares about winning fights. I think he cares about being Sean Strickland and fighting Sean Strickland's fight. So yeah, man. Let's see. And F you guys saying Volkov will smash your shoey. And Volkov is washed, says Detroit what? But you guys, let's do the last 2 orders of business so that I can get out of here, put some timestamps on this thing, and get a good night's sleep. So first of all, we're going to do the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking part pick of the week. I don't like a lot of dogs this week, but there is one line that stands out. It is John Makdessi by decision at plus 325. And a number like that, I don't think we have to put down a lot here. A half unit, a quarter unit. But Makdessi is always in close fights. And Jamie Mullarkey is not the kind of guy who's going to find, who puts stamps on fights. I mean, he's knocking out chinny guys like Devonta Smith and Kama Worthy. But outside of that, this guy fights close, and he's really not he doesn't seem that willing to strike with a lot of guys. So even though, he's the bigger dude, even though he's been fighting a little bit better competition recently, I just think that Makdessi keeps this close. And if this thing does go to decision, I think you're going to be happy that you're holding that plus 325 and that you're going to have a really good chance to cash that bet. So the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week is going to be John Makdessi to win by decision, a much wider number, much lower chance of it happening, but it'll pay off big if it hits. And that brings us to the last order of business of the night. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who's going to win violently? Who's going to go out there and absolutely destroy their opponent, make it look easy, cash you an easy ticket with a first round finish, shaving their opponent's ass, taking the mic and the microphone and saying, I just shaved that dude's ass and I'm ready for whatever's next. Let's party. Who's it going to be this week, right? There's a lot of wide lines on this one. You got Manel Kape's a wide line. You got Isreal Adesanya is a wide line. A lot of wide lines that we could take right here. But I am taking my guy, Justin Villegas, saying Kape is the ass shaving of the week. I would have made Kape the ass shaving of the week, but that line is a little bit wide. It's like minus 350. Not a lot of value there. So I parlayed Kape's money line with Carlos Ulberg's money line. But there are a couple of guys that I think that are better values on this card that are just as likely to shave ass. We got Taya as the reverse line movement, people betting him, but my line moved towards Volkov, so it is what it is. Ass shaving is Kape, says Matthew Chalk. If it's with a mic, then it may be Izzy then. Ulberg says Remdog. Co-main event underdog wins more than the fave. Well, this week, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is going to be Justin Tafa to shave the ass of Austen Lane. He's pissed off from the eye pokes. He's fighting at home. He's the better technical boxer. He's more experienced at the UFC level. We've seen this kid that he's fighting get knocked out 3 times in all of his losses. So I think that Justin Tafa is going to land a big shot, shave the ass of Austen Lane, and cash a minus 200 money line ticket and around an even inside the distance ticket. 64 of you guys hanging out live in here with your Uncle Weezy while I'm all stuffed up and messed up here. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys hanging out here for almost 2 hours, breaking down these fights with me. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Please consider joining the Patreon to support my work. And leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your best bet of the week is. And just give me an oi if you don't have anything else to say. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. Let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC 293. I will see you on Friday right here on my channel with a greasy 4-leg parlay. We've been 3 out of 4 on these the last 2 weeks, so we're going to find one that cashes this week. Thanks for hanging with me, you guys. Have a great night, and I will see you on Friday.